look, I give my testimony. I didn't get medical school till my third try. So I know, the sleepless nights I had and bust my butt for the MCAT, the extra money I had to pay for Kaplan. I've been there. And like I said, my dad never pressured me into medicine. But once I made that, decision, I'm sure he was very proud. And one of my regrets is that he didn't live long enough to see me become president of his alma mater. Oh. And I used to tell the kids when they interviewed him, Harry, look, I didn't even get an interview with Harry. And here I am. Dale, even at my level, as president of $1 billion enterprise here in New York City, I still walk into rooms and I'm the only Black physician in the whole room. In 2022, it's sobering, it's frustrating, but it's reality. And you're right, they test me the same way at my level as when I was, a resident, in terms of, well, hey, does he really know what he's talking about?
But did they test you that same way at Meharry?
Well, yes and no. It was different, a little different in our environment. They tested me. Look, my students were tough, and I told them, be tough and opinionated, but you got to know your stuff. And they know. All my Meharry students, I still get calls from Meharry students, weekly, and they're still in contact because I believe deeply in them. And I told them, look, I want to put you, man to man, woman to woman against Vanderbilt, against Duke. You guys got to be tight. You got to know your stuff. You can't be half-assed. Oh, they know. And I believed in them. And Doc, I need to see you. Come see me. Come see me at 4:00. And they come see me, and I said, look, you want to do surgery? You got to do X, Y, and Z. You need to go do some research. You need to go to NIH. So I was very hands-on with my students, which I love. And because, look, I give my testimony. I didn't get medical school till my third try. So I know, the sleepless nights I had and bust my butt for the MCAT, and the extra money I had to pay for Kaplan. I've been there. The beauty I had is I had a very supportive support system in my dad, my family, and my siblings. They said, hey, we're behind you. Go do it. And like I said, my dad never pressured me into medicine. But once I made that, decision, I'm sure he was very proud. And one of my regrets is that he didn't live long enough to see me become president of his alma mater. Oh. And I used to tell the kids when they interviewed him, Harry, look, I didn't even get an interview with Harry. And here I am.
That's excellent. One thing I remember in my time as a honorary Meharry student, I guess.
Honorary Meharry, yeah.
One thing I remember that you said to the class was, it was like one of the last days of school. I remember you said, your MD degree is the same value as any other institution's MD degree.
Exactly. Because, it took me a while to understand this, but there was a perception in some parts of medical world that, Meharry students and Howard students aren't as well educated, as the students from Missouri or, and so some of that, I could tell some of the students were feeling that, particularly the students who had been only in Black environments their whole life. They went to Black elementary school, Black high school, HBCU, then they go to Meharry. Those were the students I really worked with, because I said, look, you got to click your heels 3 times. This is not the real world. And you got to learn to go out there and deal with colleagues who don't look like you. And I did not want them having that, I'm just from Meharry. No, damn it, you are from Meharry. Don't put the just in front of it. No, you are from Morehouse School of Medicine. No, you are from Charles R. Drew. No, you are from Howard University College of Medicine. So it was an infusion of pride and confidence I wanted them. And you're right, I remember saying it. Your MD degree means the same in the marketplace. They can't pay you in residency any different than the guy that went to Harvard. And guess what? You're going to be on call with the guy or gal who went to Harvard. And so you got to be ready.
Yeah. Thinking about what you're saying right now, so you have some individuals who might come out of Meharry and saying, I just went to Meharry, or I just went to Morehouse. Whereas honestly, in the African-American community, for listeners who don't know, in the Black community, Meharry, this is like Harvard,
Yeah, right.
It's where people want to go, right? If you go talk, so like my wife ended up at Meharry, the way she ended up there. So my father-in-law, he went to Tuskegee, he's very deep into his culture and his ancestry. So he had a cousin who went to Meharry, and he had his daughter, my wife, talked to the cousin, and he was one pushing Meharry. He was like, and my father-in-law doesn't know much about medicine, but what he knew about medicine was, hey, you should want to go to Meharry.
Right.
And for us, it was like when Janae went to Meharry, it was like, hey, she got into Harvard, It's like African American community.
Well, that's why I wanted to go to Meharry. I had been raised by a Meharian, so like I said, if I get right my life zone script, I'd have gone to Meharry. But hey, God knew what He was doing. I went to Morehouse, and I met my wife there, who's a physician. I met her the first year, and she's a great physician in her own right, as people know.
She's the best physician in your house, hands
down.
Best
physician in my home, just like your household. Yes. Matter of fact, all my kids go to mom instead of me for medical issues, right?
Same in my household. Same here. When the neighbors ask questions, I say, let me get Janae involved in this conversation.
Let me get the other doctor in the house to answer that one. Yeah. So no, but you're right. But I'm glad you remember that talk, because I wanted Meharians to be confident when they left Meharry, because I knew what they were going to face in terms of that enhanced scrutiny, that comes with being a Black professional ultimately, but as a Black resident who went to a Black medical school. I had seen that movie before when I got to Baylor.
So you go to Baylor, and I know you get your MBA from Rice, but what then led you down this leadership pathway into, how do you end up becoming president of multiple?
Yeah, well, look,
what led you down that?
My ACP, look, I one of my life's goals was to be in leadership in the American College of Physicians, and this is the way it started. And this is another thing about mentorship. Like I said, I went to Baylor. The program director there is a legendary program director, Dr. Ed Lynch, who loved Meharry students. He had always taken Meharry students into the residency program at Baylor, and of course I was his first Morehouse recruit. So Dr. Lynch was a wonderful mentor, and so I think it was like halfway through my first year. Well, he called me in the first times. Well, your in-service score wasn't so good, Riley. I said, yeah, Dr. Lynch, but I was on an ER that month. I was tired. He said, okay, we'll just do better next year. What are you reading? You reading Harrison's? Yes, sir, I'm reading Harrison's. So, it was that kind of talk. Okay, well, I expect you to do better next year. Yes, Dr. Lynch, I'll do better next year. So he called me back in one day, said, hey, look, we've been observing you. You have great leadership skills. I'd like to sponsor you to be on the national, it was called the Associates Council for the ACP. And I said, wow, I'd be honored, Dr. Lynch. So he wrote a letter, sponsored me. Next thing, I get elected to the National Associates Council for medical students at the ACP. And I was hooked on the American College of Surgeons. And I chose internal medicine because I like the intellectual rigor. I like the patient contact. I like, having a patient walk in and putting the puzzle together and ordering the test and then referring on for surgery if they need it. So I just loved internal medicine, very intellectually satisfying, as you know. And then, so it started there. And then, I was on the National Residence Council, and towards 3 years in, I was starting to look for jobs. And I got a call from the chairman, Dr. Gatto, the chairman of the Department of Medicine. He said, his secretary called me and said, hey, Dr. Gatto wants to see me. So, oh God, what do I do now? And, Dr. Wayne, come on in. What are your plans when you finish residency? Well, Dr. Goodall, I think I'm going in private practice. He kind of leaned back in his chair. He said, well, some of us have been talking. We think you need to stay on the faculty with us. And that's the kind of conversation that could change your life, Dale, because here, one of the gods of internal medicine, Dr. Gatto, is one of the world's experts on cholesterol and HMG-CoA reductase inhibitors, which we prescribe for cholesterol. And here he was, my chairman, calling me and said, hey, we think you should stay on the faculty. We think you're a great teacher. Your evaluations from the medical students as a senior residents have been great. You have a great personality. You got great leadership presence. We want you to stay on the faculty. That's how I ended up staying on the faculty at Baylor. And then ultimately, rising to become vice president, vice dean. I tell medical, I didn't script this stuff. All I want to do was get in medical school, get out of medical school, and then get out of residency and be a good doctor. And then the rest of this stuff happened. So you asked me how this all happened. I become a junior faculty member at Baylor, and they put me on this committee. I was on the admissions committee. I was on the quality committee at the hospital. And again, another dean calls me one day. Hey, Wayne, come talk to me. Sure, Dean. What do you need? He said, how'd you like to come work for me in the dean's office part-time? I said, well, what do you want me to do? He said, we're having a devil of a time with curriculum reform, and we need a good young doctor like yourself who can come in and work with the basic scientists and explain to them that you can't have 15 lectures on bat-wing mitochondria in the biochemistry course. So I said, okay, I'll do it. So I did it for a year, and then he called me back. Well, you did I'm appointing you assistant dean of medical education. And next thing you know, I'm associate dean. Next thing you know, I'm vice president, vice dean. Next thing you know, I get a call from a headhunter looking for a president of Meharry.
So there's an underlying theme of your life here. It essentially sounds like this is what you've done. This is what it sounds like. I imagine your recommendation to others would be, whatever you do, give it your best. And if you're doing that, you'll get called up. So right. You didn't go asking for these positions. You were called up.
No, it's the only thing I think I did intentionally was to go back and get an MBA, because by then I was already assistant dean. I kind of liked administrative work in health centers and in medical schools. And I said, yeah, I could see a future. And guess what? And it reminded me, Dale, of the work I used to do in City Hall. Yeah. It was people, it was budgets, it was strategy. It was marketing, putting together programs to help people. Remember, I did that in the mayor's office, getting people jobs. And then in medical school, putting together programs to get more Black students into Baylor, getting higher quality patient care. So it harkened back to my government work, because it was people and processes, right? And when you're in academic medicine, really, it's people and processes. Yeah. It's hiring good people. It's putting in the process. It's managing the budget. It's articulating a vision. So the MBA thing I did as a put myself in a position to do beyond being an assistant dean. I didn't know it would lead to being a president of Meharry or president Downstate or president ACP, but it was one of those things. My definition of luck is the intersection of preparation and opportunity. Mm-hmm. And this is why I tell Black folks, look, we got to be prepared. Mm-hmm. We got to be prepared. You got to be ready for the opportunity when it crosses your lens.
Right. Let me ask you, and I'm being mindful of your time here, so I'm going to ask you a couple more questions, and we'll have some fun questions. So, as president of these institutions, you've got a family, you've got a wife who's a physician. Mm-hmm. What is that family life like? Your quote unquote work-life balance, if that's a real thing. What is that family life like?
Yeah, well, my wife and I, like I said, we met when she was a junior medical student at Morehouse. Now, remember, she went right from college to medical school, but I went I went to mayor's office to graduate school at Tulane, then to medical school. So I was younger than her as a medical student, but older in age. But she was more advanced. So she graduated, had to go off she came up to New York for training. So we dated long distance. Many medical couples have that phenomenon where one of the dyad goes to another city for training and one, stays for their training, et cetera. So we went through that as well. And then we got married right literally before I graduated and right a month before she finished residency. And then we moved to Texas. And, one of the things when you're married to someone you respect and love and who you understand is a professional in their own right, you have to throw out the models of how you thought your marriage should be. And case in point, my wife and I used to give the talk on medical marriages. And, the first thing we always tell people, do not let your family's expectations about your marriage interfere with your marriage. because, my dear mother, who I love to death, still alive, but my mother was a homemaker, right, for 5 kids and a physician. She was like, my gosh, you guys eat out so much. my grandkids are going to be, but no, that's our normal. So in other words, don't let other people define what's normal for your marriage as physicians. And I know you and Janae have done the same thing.
I was gonna say that sounds like that sounds like our life a little bit right now. We're just doing so much that I'm like, man, we're eating that more than we should be.
Yeah, well, but hey, I'm not the type of guy who would expect a physician wife to have my food on the table every night. That's unfair of me. Be disrespectful of Charlene as a physician and with a busy career herself. So you define the new normal in your relationship with your wife and who is a physician, and so that's, and it's not just if your spouses or partner is a physician, if they are professionals. If Charlene were a lawyer, I'd have to respect that she's a lawyer. Or if your partner is an architect, architects work long hours and have big projects and deadlines. And so you have to have enough ego strength to not, understand that, you can have a loving, wonderful relationship with someone else, but that someone else also has to be fulfilled and actualized in their own right. Exactly. And long gone are the days where you can just expect a spouse or partner to drop everything, for your career. There has to be trade-offs and accommodations. We went through the young kid phase too, and we were kind of proud that we never had a nanny. we did the daycare thing and got fined not picking up the kid. I remember one famous story we used to tell. I missed picking up my daughter. My wife called me at like 6:30. Did you get Aaron? I said, no, I thought, Aaron, you're and at that point, the daycare is calling me, and they find you $100 an hour, of course. So we still laugh about that.
So where in your training were you when you had your first child?
Let's see. Our first child was born. I'd already finished residency. So, when we were at Baylor, we had both our kids in Houston.
Okay, I was gonna ask how you did it, because we had a nanny for 2 years. Because Janae, so right after we left from Harry, Janae got pregnant soon after. Right after we left from Harry, right after Janae left from Harry.
Nannies are a wonderful thing, and look, that's what I said. We mistakenly prided ourselves in not having a nanny. We finally got a nanny. And my gosh, Charlene and I looked at you the one day, what the hell were we thinking? We were like, how did we not get this? This is wonderful.
We probably literally couldn't have done it. We had to have, because, some days I'm working days, Janae's working nights, and someone's going to be with the kids,
I know. So we were like, what dumb knuckleheads were we trying to just, on pride say, oh, we don't have a nanny, and, damn near killed us. And then when we got one, it was like, oh my gosh, what the hell did we miss? And so for our second child, it was just wonderful having a nanny, and, but these are the things you do as professionals. And this is what I tell young professionals, particularly 2 physician dyads, get help, get a once a week housekeeper, because at the end of the day, you've been in surgery all day, you've been in a case all day, you've seen 25 patients, you don't want to come home and mop the floor. I mean, if you make enough money, provide that service to your partner's spouse, so no one's stressed out about the fact that the floor is dirty, right? Have the once a week housekeeper, get the nanny, get somebody to pick your kids up from school that you trust, because that's the way you manage your professional life.
This stuff needs to be. We should have had a whole session on that. That stuff needs to be like taught during medical school, because it took me a while because you grow up in this mindset like you got a nanny, you got a housekeeper, or you bougie,
bougie, right, because no, but this is basic life.
And now I have it, then we had a nanny, now we have somebody who comes to help, she comes every other week to clean the house and such. At first I was like, why can't we clean our own house, or why can't the kids do it?
You're just too tired to do that. You're just too tired. So but no, that's the other part of this is to get the help to make sure that you can live a good existence. So, so I know we're running to the end of our time, Dale, but I'd love to be back with you.
Yeah, definitely. Let me ask you a couple fun questions, and I'll let you go. Here's one fun question right here. Maybe one fun question. If you were an artist of any type, It could be a musician. It could be even an athlete, a type of art. It could be a painter. Who would you be and why? Or who do you most resonate with and why?
That's an easy one. I'm a jazz lover, so Duke Ellington. I think Duke Ellington was a genius in many ways. Howard graduate, alpha brother of mine. In terms of what he contributed, the genius of Duke Ellington and his musical talent. I don't have a musical bone in my body, but Duke Ellington is somebody. If I come back reincarnated, come back as Duke Ellington would be great.
Duke Ellington, nice. And last question I will ask you, then I'll give you the final word. So the last question I'll ask you is, if it were not medicine, what would you be doing?
Oh, it clearly would be law.
All right.
No, and I toyed with going back to law school at one point because, there are MD-JDs out there. My wife said, no, Wayne, 4 earned degrees is enough.
Yeah, MD, MPH, MBA.
4 earned. I got 3 honorary degrees too. So she said, Wayne, that's enough. But I do have a commitment with her. If I were to win the Powerball and it's like north of 300 million, she said, then you can go to law school.
I think that'll cover it and take care of it. So I want to say thank you for being on the show and for mentoring me during the session, or counseling, giving me wisdom during the session, as well as the listeners. I want to give you the last word, and I either say whatever you want, whatever bit of advice you would give, but I would love for it to end with, my name is Dr. Wayne J. Riley, and I'm a Black man in a white coat.
Excellent. Well, look, I love being a physician. It's the second highest calling a human can have, is to minister to the body. And the highest calling, of course, those who are called to the ministry and to pastoring, ministering to the soul. But this is the second highest calling. And Dan Foster at Southwestern, the legendary chair of medicine, used to call it the priestly function of being a physician. So I take that very seriously. I also tell students, look, MD behind your names, and your wife will remember, I used to say this at Meharry, the MD that one day you will earn to put behind your name means more than medical doctor. It means make a difference. And, I love being a doctor, and we should approach being a doctor as a high honor privilege and do it with pride, conviction, excellence, and commitment. And so I'm Dr. Wayne Riley, and I'm a Black doctor in a white coat. It's all about progression. Life is like a blessing. Everything a win, loss is like a lesson. Ooh, ooh. Yeah, ain't no time for stressing. I've been really stepping. Ooh, ooh. Yeah, if you wanna go get it, stop playing around. Really got on racks, ain't playing around. Wanna go get it, stop playing around. Really got on racks, ain't playing around. Black man, white coat, shit, we up right now.